Hi guys, I guess today we have a project of 36 horsepower head that I'm going to fix this fin that's cracked, broken off. I no longer have the broken piece, so you could fabricate another piece and weld that in there, but I think what we're going to do is just lay down weld and then sculpt it back, just beads of weld to build it up. It's kind of borderline, but I think that's going to be the easiest, quickest way to do it. And then we got to work on these studs. I'm not sure what to do on this yet. This has been tapped out a size larger, and they are step studs that you could use to put in there. Might weld it up and re-tap it. Re-drill it and re-tap it. So I guess the first thing to do is clean this up. We'll blast it. It's been through a parts washer, but we'll blast it real good and clean here for welding. Do a little cleanup with a burr. The first thing is, might as well just blast the whole thing. There's also some kind of a vent. Someone drilled this as an extra hole in here that should not be there. It goes all the way through. We're going to weld that up also, so we'll blast good around there. And anything else, there's a little nick on the intake seat. Let's probably put a little bead of weld on there and then mill that seat flat. So we'll get to blasting. Sorry for the blurry glass here. I do have new sheets of glass that I get at Lowe's or Home Depot. You can get a big sheet, have it cut into 3 pieces, and for under $5 you can have a brand new piece of glass to put in there. So I find that's better than the tearaway sheets, but I do have to make some time to swap it out. Okay, got it back from the blast cabinet. There's glass bead. I believe it's 80 grit glass bead. It leaves a pretty nice finish on aluminum. So, kind of just did it once over. It's going to get blasted again when we're done. But just really wanted to clean up this area and just get it clean enough to inspect it. We're going to, first of all, make a copper backing. I'm just using this. It's a 3/4 inch plumbing coupling. So I'm going to slice it, flatten it out, and then we'll make a template to get it underneath here so we can weld along it and the aluminum weld won't stick to the copper. I'll try to cut a little half moon in there to get that to sit down in there. Just take it over the grinder, grind that up. Okay, got it ground out to fit this shape. And then we'll just take some of these spring clamps and put it on there. And that should be good. It should give us a good, relatively straight line. So we'll start welding. So this welding footage here is sped up 3 times. Here I'm just trying to let the cleaning action work, try to bring up some of the impurities in the metal. And the first weld across there is always the trickiest because you're dealing with the cast aluminum. Then once you get the filler in there, it's a lot easier. It welds a lot better after the filler is in there and you're not welding right against the casting. I'm using 16th inch 4043 aluminum filler rod here. I've always had good luck with 4043 on cast. This isn't a structural repair, so it'll work out pretty good in this application. A lot of this here is just doing little circular motions, trying to bring up the low spots, fill some of the low spots. That's the nice thing about TIG welding. You can go back over the beads and try to smooth them out and try to minimize those low spots. So we have it welded up. Doesn't look pretty right now, but we will start to grind it and then finish with some hand filing. So that's next. I did heat this head up to 200 degrees in a toaster oven beforehand, so we had some heat in it. It just welds a lot better with some heat in it. Just going to use a burr for aluminum to rough it out. We're going to get it in a vise. I think what we're going to do actually is put this in the mill and we'll mill it. On the back side here, that second fin was so close that the arc started jumping across to that fin, so I couldn't get in there very well, and it did end up having a couple low spots on the underside there, but not too bad, and completely hidden, so it worked out good in the long run. So there you have it. We'll blast it and take a look. So it needs a little touch up yet, right through in here. So here's the final repair. Came out pretty good. A lot of it's going to be covered by the heating shroud. So it sits in here kind of like that. But it's at least, it's better than it was. There's a couple low spots on the underside. Probably when I put the copper plate in there, it probably could have been just a little bit lower. But it's not bad. It's the way I do it. It's not necessarily the right way or the only way to do it. Like I say, we could have put a piece in there and just welded a piece in. But I had limited access to the back side also. So that's it. And then for the welder itself, it's a Everlast DV, or a 200 DV, and we had it set about 120 amps. Was using the foot pedal, so it didn't really use all of those amps. It was pretty thin fin, so it didn't need a lot of amps. Probably used half of that, really. Balance set about 30%, and I was at about 90 to 100 on the hertz frequency. But that's pretty standard. Get much over on the balance, much over 30-40%, you start burning the tungsten. I found. So you keep it around there. Fine tune it as you go. Typical cracks between the valves. That's pretty much on all VW heads. It doesn't seem to matter. We'll measure the guides out, and then we have to fix that vent that was cut. Whatever that is. We'll plug that up. They like 36 horsepower engines like to be vented, so they actually have in a manual directions on how to make a vented valve cover, and that's what I usually run. Otherwise, it likes to push oil out the pulley, the front pulley or rear pulley, you know, the back of the engine. But there's not a seal on there. There's just like a spiral groove in the pulley that's supposed to sling the oil back into the engine, and if you get too much pressure in there, it starts leaking. So I run at least one vented valve cover on my 36 horsepower stuff. So I'll do a video on how to do that. You braze them in, but it's a little tricky to get the contour correct on the piping. But I'll make a video on that one also. So that's it for now. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you again. Thank you.